I liked that people knew my name. I was proud to be called Saul. But then one day there was a different name on people's lips. Jesus. He was this new rabbi in town that everyone was talking about. The guy was only about my age, and he already had disciples of his own. And not just a few, but hundreds of people followed him around, making all sorts of outrageous claims. People calling him a prophet. Others thought he might be the Messiah. A few even worshiped him as if he was God. Can you believe that? How stupid can people get? A man being treated like God? That was blasphemy. Jesus was just a regular guy like me. No less important than me. He came from the hick town of Nazareth. His father was a poor carpenter that never amounted to anything. He didn't have any money. He didn't train under a famous rabbi. Jesus was a nobody from nowhere. But I was jealous. I wanted people to talk about me the way they talked about him. I hated him. I just wanted him to go away. And I didn't have to wait too long before some of my friends took care of business. Some of my fellow Jews made contact with one of his closest followers and convinced him to betray his master and hand him over. By the end of the night, the high priest ordered that Jesus be killed. It was about time. Someone did something. This foolishness had gone on long enough. And the next morning, Jesus was handed over to the Romans for a proper criminal's execution. Now, the Romans had their flaws, but they were masters of death. And their crowning achievement was crucifixion. It allowed them to inflict the maximum amount of pain and humiliation on their victims while keeping them alive as long as humanly possible. But Jesus deserved it. So they tore him apart with whips made of bone and glass. They shoved a crown of thorns on his head like he was some kind of king. And then they marched him up a hill and nailed him into a cross and hung him out in front of the whole city for the world to see him for what he really was. A false prophet, another dead end, an empty promise. A sign above the cross read, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Did people really still think that this was our king?